Right, we'll come back and we'll talk about the rest of the PFL bets after I give my other bets. But let's jump over to the UFC for a second. Bet number one, I'm going to go from the main event to the UFC straight away, and I'm going to go for Khalil Rountree. Do you know what? A bit of a surprise in minus 130 price. He's actually minus 125 now. It's changed here in the last few minutes. Minus 125. I thought he would be. Maybe I'm off on this, but I thought he would be maybe a minus 190, maybe minus 200 coming in here. And the reason for it, I just don't think Jamal Hill has kicked on in the way he did, and the way I thought he would. Like, I spoke about this in the podcast, the Severe MMA podcast at the weekend. Like, when he won, years ago, I do my 20 bowl predictions for the year. And he ended up winning the title on the 21st of January 2023. But in 2022, I predicted Jamal Hill would be the champion of the world. Now in 2020, when I predicted that, his wins in the UFC, he had beaten Jimmy Crute. He had lost the Paul Craig the fight before that. So that was a pretty big prediction at that time. So that's how much I think of Jamal Hill, right? But I also thought Jamal Hill would, I thought he'd go pretty quickly, and, he won the title a little bit slower than I imagined, but probably quicker at the same time. It was a bold prediction. But I think he got there too early. A guy now who's 34, okay, but he's young enough in his career, still only 16 fights into his career. And, when he won the title, what was he, 14 fights into his career. That's not a whole lot of fights. Let's be honest. Like, there's people out there now having 14 amateur fights. There's people out there having, maybe 10 amateur fights, 10, 12 pro fights before they get to the UFC. And I think he had only one amateur fight as well. So not a whole lot. And you would expect him, when he reached the level of a Johnny Walker, Thiago Santos, that, over the next 2-3 years, this guy is going to go to a different level. And he hasn't. I just don't think he has. Obviously, he had that terrible injury that, the Daniel Cormier basketball match where he, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, please, in the comment section, but I'm pretty sure he ruptured his Achilles, which is just the most devastating injury. It's, I shudder to even think about those Achilles injuries. They're just absolutely rotten, horrible injuries. And, it felt like he came back a little bit quickly, got knocked out against Pereira. No shame in that, absolutely. But then the loss to Prochazka, that was almost worse than losing a title fight against Pereira. Anyone can get caught against Pereira and get knocked out. To lose to Prochazka, I know Prochazka's a very good fighter as well, don't get me wrong. There's no shame in losing to Prochazka. But when we're talking about a guy improving and becoming the real best light heavyweight in the world, maybe outside of Pereira even, you're expecting him to beat Yuri Prochazka with all due respect. And I just feel he hasn't reached that level yet. Now, there's some people out there might be saying, Shawnee, Khalil Rountree's never reached a level like that. He's been in there with Johnny Walker. He lost to Johnny Walker and Kutalaba and Pracino. But, he's been on a 5-fight win streak before losing to Alex Pereira. The same thing. He went 4 rounds with Alex Pereira. Did pretty well in that fight. And I know there's some people out there as well saying, oh, congratulations, you won the win the 4th round with Alex Pereira trophy, which is, again, fair enough. But I just feel like at this stage of their careers, Khalil Rountree is on a more positive note. And I feel it's very hard to turn that around sometimes. Like, I think Jamal Hill's a very weird character. I think we would all acknowledge that. He might acknowledge that himself. And do you know what? In this sort of position, I think that'll actually help him. But I don't know if it'll help him enough. I think he's very, very confident, and you need to be confident in yourself. Even after 2 losses, he probably still thinks he's the best light heavyweight in the world. But I think if he went in there with someone down a little bit, whether it was, say, an Anthony Smith or a Dustin Jacoby or someone like that. Obviously, I'm just looking at Khalil's record here for someone, or even someone, 6th or 7th or 8th guy in the rankings. I think maybe then you got to win. If you had fought Khalil after that, then I might think differently. But the fact that he's meeting Khalil Rountree right now, I just think Khalil will be coming out there. You look at the last fight, Khalil, and he lost, but it was a very different loss than Jamal's last 2 losses, in that Jamal's last 2 losses proved he wasn't the best in the world, and Khalil's loss proved that he was right next to the best in the world. And there's a very stark difference there. I think that'll make a difference in this fight. I think Khalil will come out and look good. And I think, do you know what? I think he'll probably get the knockout. I was looking at the knockout price, and it's only plus 125. It's not enough for me to go to it. Like, I have a feeling that Jamal Hill will be a little bit more defensive in this fight, and I was looking at Hill to win by decision at plus 450. Rountree to win the decision plus 600. But again, maybe that's a good flyer for you to hit. But no, I'm going for straight up Khalil Rountree and the new price of minus 125. Right, next bet, I'm going for the Fiziev Bahamondes fight to go to a decision. Minus 143. You know, obviously this is what's favoured in this fight. And I was really looking at this fight, looking at the betting odds, and let me just give you the price of both guys. Minus 122 for Bahamondes, plus best price plus 110. Now I'm pretty sure that has changed. Let me just have a look here. It definitely has, yeah. So I was actually looking at this yesterday, and Fiziev was the favourite. He was minus 116 last week. On Sunday he was minus 116, on Monday minus 111, and today he is plus 110 in some places still, but he's the underdog in all the betting shops at the moment. Bahamondes a couple of days ago, he started out at plus 110. He was up as far as plus 120 back a week or two ago. So this has changed an awful lot. What does that tell you? That tells you that people are kind of unsure about this one. Look, when Fiziev has lost 3 in a row, that's going to be a thing. When Bahamondes is on the great run that he's on, winning 3 in a row, but winning 6 out of his last 7, there's no doubt about it. He is the form guy here. This is form versus class, I would say. And not to say Bahamondes is not a class fighter, but, you know, Fiziev is a class fighter, a very, very good fighter. You know, he obviously 2 of those losses were to Justin Gaethje. You know, I thought coming into the second one, he might be able to win it, but wasn't that short notice or something as well? There was something odd there anyway, and he lost, you know, the knee injury to Gamrot in the middle as well. It's kind of a weird 3 losses in a row. You also look at their records. Now, there's, you know, they have a lot of finishes in there as well. You know, 13 finishes for Bahamondes and 9 of 12 for Fiziev. But Fiziev has in 16 fights gone to decision 5 times, which, you know, for a guy who's been dominant up until the last few fights is a few. And then there's 7 out of 22 for Bahamondes. So, you know, not the biggest percentage in the world, but, you know, he did go to 2 decisions in a row against Ludwig Klein-Treogden, and it's a Ludwig Klein fight, and, you know, he lost that fight as well, and I kind of look at that one, and I think Klein, and this was only 2023 as well, this wasn't 100 years ago, I know he's won 3 fights since then, he's definitely improved since then, but Ludwig Klein is a Fiziev type fighter, but Fiziev is better, I think. You know, Fiziev, again, he went to decision in 2 of his last 3 fights. And I just have a feeling this, like the style of Bahamondes, where he's very exciting, but he hits hard, and he's an all-round fighter. He can wrestle, he can do it all as well. I feel like that is going to be harder to implement in like a strong finishing way against Fiziev than it will be against most fighters, because he's like so technically good. You know, Fiziev, in terms of him being finished in his career, like I just spoke about those 3 fights, and, you know, he fought Mustayev in 2019, and it was a spinning back kick. Like he's not getting finished easy. Let's put it that way. I think the likelihood is this fight goes long, and this fight is very close and goes to decision. Now, again, let me just remind you of the bet. The fight goes to decision at minus 143. This is not Fiziev to win. This is not Bahamondes to win the decision like I had last week. This is just a fight to go to decision. I feel like Fiziev will be better defensively than most of Bahamondes' recent opponents, and I feel like Bahamondes will know that and try to fight a more clever game to maybe win that decision, and I think it'll go long, and I like that minus 143. Right. Let's get to the flyer of the week. We already had it, and we're going for it again. We're going for Rizvan Kuniev to win the decision. Sorry, to win via knockout. I was actually thinking about picking him to win by decision, but no, we're going for him to win via knockout against Curtis Blaydes. Now, we had this bet way back. I think it was in March or something like that. I think it was plus 550 then. It's plus 600 now. So I had to go for it again. This fight obviously didn't happen back then, but you look at their records, you know, Kuniev obviously coming over, he was in the Contender Series, but he was in the PFL for a lot before that. Watched a lot of him obviously in he fought only once or twice there, but he fought over in the he fought in the Contender Series a couple of times. Fought in Eagle FC. I remember covering that. You know, he's a guy that's watched a good few times and covered obviously multiple fights of his now, and watched a fair bit of him. And you look at the record, you know, he has knockouts there, but he's also a good wrestler. You know, he is a guy who's beaten some good guys as well along the way. And I think if you look at Curtis Blades, you know, at 34 years of age now, 18-5-1, lost 2 of his last 3. You know, obviously had the great win against Gialta and Almeida in there. You know, it's a flyer, and the favorite in this fight is obviously Blades at minus 270. Kuniev is plus 230 underdog. Like, how does Curtis Blades lose fights, right? He loses fights really in one way. He can't take his opponent down, and he gets beaten on the feet, right? I think this might be a little bit different in that he'll find it hard to take Kuniev down. Now he might, right? He might, and Kuniev might take him down. But if Kuniev does take him down, I think that's where we might see the KO here. Now, I'm not saying Kuniev will knock him out straight in the feet. You know, maybe you'd never know. Maybe he'll throw one of those uppercuts and knock him out or something like that. But I feel like if Blades can't take Kuniev down, and like that's a relatively big if. Like if he's to win this fight, right, and he's as big a favorite as he is, he should be going in there, take him down straight away. But if he doesn't, I think that's a real advantage for Kuniev. And I think, again, Blades is one of those guys, if it doesn't go well for him, I think it kind of turns quickly on him. And I think it might turn quickly for Kuniev to get a takedown and finish him on the ground. And if that's the case, right, if he gets into the ground, that plus 600 knockout is looking like a really, really, really good price. Again, you know, Blades has never been submitted. All 5 of his losses in his career have been via knockout. And, you know, there's no doubt about it. Kuniev has power in his hands. You know, he's good kind of in the clinch, knees to the body and stuff as well. Actually, it was the last fight in the Contender Series. We got that big knee to the body and some punches afterwards. So that's the flyer of the day. Why not? Plus 600, Kuniev wins via knockout. Right, a few more prices from the weekend. Let's just quickly start in the UFC. Just the main event, as I said, the plus 118, Haley's best price, minus 125 for Khalil Rountree. I like Rountree, obviously, at that price. I just think it's not enough on Hill. Bahamondes is minus 120 and Fiziev is plus 110. Again, you know, if I was to pick, I would pick Fiziev at minus 110. We just talked about Blades Kuniev, the straight-up price, obviously. Fascinating fight for me. Mitabek or Elboy, he's the favourite, minus 163, plus 145 against Tafiq Musayev. Musayev obviously coming over. He fought in, obviously, Bellator for a while, and did he have one in PFL maybe? I'm a fan of Elboy. I like him a lot, but Musayev has a lot of high-level experience, been in there with some very, very good guys. Look, if I woke up on Sunday morning and I saw that Musayev had won, would I be surprised? No, but I'm going to go with Arl, but I think he's very, very well rounded. I think he's the young gun, I suppose, in here. So I'll go with him. You know, Sadikov, big favorite. I think he's probably going to win that. I would say the same for Naimov. I'm a fan of his. Orban Elliott, a big, big favorite there as well, fighting his opponent coming in on short notice. I think Orban should win that. And most of the other fights as well, you know, big favorites there. The one fight I was looking at, the heavyweight fight, Usman and Hamdi Al-Dawab, you know, neither of these guys are blowing anyone out of the water, but what about the fight? Look, what about the under 2.5 rounds here? Plus 163. That was a bet I was looking at. The other bet I was looking at was either to win by knockout, like, now separately, but Hamdi to win by knockout, plus 400. Usman to win by a knockout, plus 400. Take her pick there. You know, now Hamdi might take him down, and I think he will if he is to beat him there. He's plus 2200 for the submission. You know, I might that'd be a flyer amongst all flyers. But I like Hamdi maybe to get the KO at plus 400 there if you're looking for a bit of a flyer. So that's from the UFC. Then from PFL, you know, Jake Hadley. I was very tempted to pick Jake Hadley, but I have a lot of respect for Alves, and I think at, you know, minus 135 for Hadley, best price. He's upwards of minus 150 elsewhere. I think he should be the favourite, but that's a bit heavy for my liking, so I kind of left that. But Hadley's the pick, but very, very close. Shaklova against Bishop. Again, I think Shaklova's the pick there, plus 140. I would just be interested to see if the wrestling of Bishop can get it done. You know, when Bishop comes with a good game plan, she's very, very good. You know, Shaklova's one of those fighters, you look at her tape and you're like, okay, she's talented and she could do well, but I think the levels maybe of fighters sometimes makes her look good. So, again, one that I'm kind of avoiding there. I think an interesting price as well. Hamidov is an underdog against Magomedov. He's plus 114 in one place. I think I probably lean to him in that. I like Cincy in that fight as well. It's a pick'em fight, plus 110. Sorry, minus 110 each. Derek Kelly, I think he'll win against Mike Hamill, but that price of minus 258, fighting short notice. Mike Hamill's not a massive step up from Dmitry Hishchenko last time out, but Mike Hamill's a very, very good wrestler as well. I think Darryl will be able for him, but I wouldn't bet on it at that price. Let's put it that way. Darian's a favourite as well. I think he should win that fight. Alira Joanna, you know, being a relatively, you know, minus 156 favourite in one place here, you can get Ocorza plus 120. I'd probably go for that, yeah. And do you know what, Alan Dominguez, he's a big underdog here, plus 195. I liked him, and he's the last fight I saw him in. I think I'd probably lean that. That's a pretty good price on him. Gadzhi Rabinhanov is minus 1800 to win. The props aren't out yet, but if I was betting a prop on that, him via first round finish, I think you might get it at minus 250 or something like that. If you do, I would say take that. Elora Dana, watching the tape on her, honestly, I would have picked her against most people, but Liz Carmouche looks so good the last time. Hard to pick Liz. That line, though, I think it's too much, minus 400 for Liz. I think she should be around minus 250. That makes me think the plus 330 on Elora Dana might be a price, but I don't think she'll win, so I wouldn't hit it. Barnawin Colgan, the big favourite. I think he will win. And then we talked about Wetzel and Gutierrez, and that is that from me. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Thank you to Ben Duffy for the wonderful editing and everything like that, and all the Sherdog crew. And please bet responsibly. Leave your bet for the week in the comment section below. Best luck on Friday night, best luck on Saturday night. And until next week, my name is Sean Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.